The second concept that we are going to be speaking about in this session are operators, the second programming concept. Okay, we saw before that I could take one integer variable and multiply it times 3. Well, that was an example of the use of an arithmetic operator. Okay, there are quite a few operators that come built in with Python that we can use to manipulate and transform our variables. Simpler ones are the arithmetic ones, which help me transform my Python code into a calculator. And before I had seen that I had defined int_var as 1 and another int_var as -5, and I can add them up, data subtraction, multiplication, or division, and I get the proper result. So 1 plus -4 is 1 plus -5 is -4, 1 minus -5 is 6, 1 times -5 is -5, and 1 divided by -5 is -0.2. And this is interesting. I had two integer variables and I got a result that was a float variable. That's always going to happen, but that will have an importance whenever I want to stay on the same type, and sometimes I will want to move from one type to the other. We are not going to be worrying too much about this now, but this will be especially important when we work with images and we work with matrices in deep learning. Some other operators exist. For example, if instead of writing 1 bar I write 2, I get the integer division. Okay, so the integer division between 7 and 2 is 3, and the integer remainder, and the integer quotient, which is written down with the percentage symbol, is 1, because 7 is 3 times 2 plus 1. So the integer remainder of the division by 2 is 3, and the remainder is 1. Okay, and I can run this, can always run this code. If I wanted to have not the integer remainder of 7 but of 9, then because 9 is 4 times 2 plus 1, the remainder would move to 4, and the quotient would move to 4, and the remainder would remain as 1. Okay, I can have the same operators with floats: subtraction, addition, product, okay, division, and so on and so forth. The ratio between the gravity of the Earth and the gravity of the Moon is, and I have just computed the ratio here, dividing one by the other. I could also play around with how much of this precision I want to show, but let's not get into it right now. You can have a look, and being able to find information related to the programming that you are learning is a very important skill that I encourage you to develop. Send me any question that you have. For example, we could use our variables about the gravity of the Earth and the gravity of the Moon to compute our weight in the Moon. How do you do that? Well, we define a variable called Moon to Earth gravity, which is basically the ratio from the Moon gravity to the Earth gravity, and then we multiply our weight times this. So if my weight was 72 kilos, my weight in the Moon would be 11.93 kilos. All data types have operators, complex operators also, complex data variables, complex variables also have the same operators. But some have special ones. For example, in complex variables I can also access the real and the imaginary part. Okay, as you can see, complex var used to be, well, was defined here as -1 plus 5j, which stands for the complex part, and I can access them both here, the real and the imaginary part. And if you have never done complex numbers, really don't worry too much about them. If you have, you can write lots of code in Python that works with them because they are a built-in type for some reason. We can even mix different types of variables. So I can add an integer variable and a complex variable, and I get something that is also a complex variable because that's a more general one. Some operators exist for some data types but not for others. So for example, I can know whether or not I can use the smaller operator, the minor operator between integer variables. Okay, so int variable is int variable smaller than another int variable. I can do that and I get something. Actually, I get the truth value of this. Okay, the minor operator gives me a truth value whether or not this is smaller than that, and then I can print it, and it turns out that this is not smaller than that, so the whole truth value of this is false. But the point is that I can use this operator with integer values. Can I use it with complex values, with complex variables? No, because it doesn't make sense to compare two complex values as a whole. I could compare their real or imaginary parts, but not the complex numbers themselves. And then Python complains, throws an error and tells me, hey, this operator is not supported between instances of complex and complex. So we have seen that for every data type I can use operators to modify and combine my data in the usual ways. I have, for example, arithmetic operators. Okay, we will see other operators of other types later. Okay, I have to be a little bit careful in what I'm doing. If I'm doing something that receives integers but results in a float variable, well, I have to be aware of that. For example, when I divide it, these two integer variables here and ended up with a float. Okay, I have to know also what operators can and cannot be used with my data. In all of these respects, Python uses pretty logical rules that we are used to from our mathematics knowledge. Okay.